What's up again, everybody? Let's talk about Rush. Rush is a brand new keyword that can be found in the upcoming Infinity Gauntlet set, and it's found on very specific cards within that set. It's found on the Guardians of the Galaxy. So I went to the old Guardians of the Galaxy set and I pulled out all of the Guardians dice from that set so that I can explain to you how this new mechanic works. I'm really interested to see how it works because ramp in draft settings is very, very powerful, and I think this could be a really fun ramp option going forward. And it plays very similarly to the swarm mechanic that we have seen all the way since back in the old D&D sets. But it's really kind of snuck into a couple of other sets as well, and this is sort of a complement to it and very similar to it with a few key differences that I very much like. So let me talk you through it. The Rush keyword specifically states that if you draw this die, whatever the die is that is got the Rush keyword on its card, if you draw that die during your clear and draw step, that's important, it has to be during the clear and draw step, then you're going to draw and roll an extra die for each X die that it sees. So I say X because you can really insert any sort of like moniker or anything that you might be looking for into that slot. And if it sees that type of die, like for example a bolt die or a shield die, if it sees that type of die, then you're going to pull an extra die from your bag and roll that alongside of your main draw during your roll and reroll step, right? So let me specify that a little bit more. So the Groot over here, the common version of the Groot has Rush Bolt. So if you draw this common Groot and you pull any bolt die, it doesn't have to be a character, just any bolt die, could even be, I don't know, let me get a bolt die here. It could be, what's her face? The one that makes sidekicks. You know the one from the WWE set, right? Lita, that's her name. It could be Yawning Portal. If you pull Yawning Portal alongside Groot, then his Rush ability will trigger and you will draw one extra die and roll one extra die during your roll and reroll step, which is pretty cool. Here, Rocket Raccoon, the uncommon Rocket Raccoon rushes for shields. So if you pulled like a Drax, for example, because he's a shield, or if you pulled a Groot, because he's a shield, then you would rush based on how many of those shield characters or shield actions the Rocket can see in that pull. The uncommon Drax rushes for bolts, just like the Groot does. I think it's the rare Gamora rushes for bolts as well. And then the rare Star-Lord, which I think is probably the most interesting of all, will rush for any non-Star-Lord Guardian character. So any character that you pull, or like maybe they make a Guardian action in the future, that'd be kind of cool. Any Guardian affiliated thing that you pull that's not Star-Lord, he will rush an extra die for, which is really, really cool. Now here's some specifics on the Rush keyword, and I got all of these clarifications from WizKids directly. So Rush will actually look at anything drawn during the clear and draw step, even stuff that's drawn before Rush triggers. So if there's some ability that has you draw a die during the clear and draw step maybe before, like for example Pepper Potts Virginia has you draw a die and then prep it if it is I think it's a non-sidekick die, something like that. If you draw a Rush die and it sees that thing that you drew from Pepper Potts Virginia was a Bolt character, for example, and you just pulled Groot, Groot will trigger off of that die as well. Another interesting thing is if you draw two Rush characters that trigger off of each other or that, make simultaneous Rush triggers, you probably should go about like triggering the Rush effect here and then the Rush effect there. In most, like 99.9% of cases, it's not going to matter if you draw for both of them at the same time. But there are some corner cases that I can think of. I guess like the one that pops into my head is if you were playing back in the Cosmic Cube days where you pull a Cosmic Cube, the common, and then it has you like put dice that you've drawn back and then draw new dice. Perhaps in that scenario, you would want to have triggered this Rush effect first, do that effect from the from the Cosmic Cube. This is all very like technical stuff, but it's like a corner case that you might consider. So when you're resolving multiple Rush effects, maybe you make sure that you make a habit to do one first and then the other. Okay, so let's do some scenarios on Rush effects. Here we have my bag, and in my bag, if I open it and take these 4 dice out, we've got a Groot, and we've got 2 sidekicks, and we've got a Bolt die in the form of yawning portals. So Groot's rush effect will trigger. Groot looks for bolt character die or action die, and then will draw and roll you an extra die. So reaching back into the bag and drawing, we get an extra die. There's a sidekick. So we're going to take all of these and then roll them. All right, here's another scenario. So I'm going to draw 4 dice from my bag, and oh, look at that. I got a Rocket and I got a Groot. So the Rocket and the Groot are both going to trigger their rush abilities because Rocket looks for shields and Groot looks for bolts. So I'm going to draw 2 more dice. Oh, would you look at that? The 2 dice that I draw, sidekick and another bolt character, or in this case a bolt action. And this is going to make me draw 1 more die from my bag, and oh, there's a sidekick. So then I get to start my turn. Okay, the next scenario is super important to wrap your head around. It's kind of one of the fundamentals of Rush, so let's take a look at it. Now, I'm going to draw these 4 dice, just like I did before. This is Rocket and this is Groot. They're going to trigger off of each other, and so I'm going to draw 2 more dice. I am going to draw these 2 dice. I draw another Rocket and a sidekick. Now, does this Rocket begin rushing? No. Once a character initiates the rush process, this is not going to rush by itself. But when you draw this, the Groot is going to see that bolt character and you're going to rush again. So then we rush again and we see this one. Oh, it's a Groot. So now the originally drawn Rocket is going to rush again. Oh, and it's a sidekick. So these newly drawn rush characters don't trigger a new rush, causing you to do other crazy things. They just count or contribute to what other rush characters might see. Okay, here's a crazy one. Are you ready for this one? I'm going to draw a Rocket, I'm going to draw a Groot, I'm going to draw a sidekick, and I'm going to draw a Drax. The Drax sees a bolt character, so it's going to rush, and it's going to get me a sidekick. The Rocket sees 2 shield characters, so I'm going to draw 2 dice, and it's going to see, let's do these 2. And the Groot is going to see a bolt character, so it's going to draw me 1 more die. Now, all of a sudden, taking a look at this Drax, this is where things get weird. The Drax and the Groot see a newly drawn bolt character, so they're going to draw 2 dice apiece, and then the Rocket sees a newly drawn shield character, so he's going to draw 1 new die, and it's going to end up drawing this shield character that's a Drax, which is going to draw you 1 new die, and this... this is stupid. The Star-Lord's gonna see non-Star-Lord Guardian characters in the amount of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's gonna draw you 6 dice, of which you're gonna then draw these dice, and Gamora is gonna see, oh look, Gamora 1. Gamora is gonna see bolt characters in the form of 2 Rocket Raccoons, and so then you're gonna need more dice because you've just run into this problem where your bag's empty. That's kind of crazy one, but that's something you could do, I guess, if you had unlimited time and resources. Okay, here's one final weird little interaction. Let's say that you have this Kuatoa that has Swarm, and it's looking for other Kuatoas to be drawn alongside of it so that Swarm can trigger and you can draw extra dice. This is how Rush and Swarm can interact together. Let's say that you draw this, okay? You draw a Rocket, you draw a Drax, you draw a sidekick, and you draw one of those Kuatoa dice. So the Swarm die will trigger, and these 2 rush abilities will trigger off of each other as well. So like, for example, this will draw you because it sees a shield, this will draw you because it sees a bolt, and this will draw you because it is a Swarm ability. If you then draw sidekick off of that one, let's just move that over there, sidekick off of that ability, sidekick off of this one, and a bolt character off of the Swarm, well, Drax sees the bolt character drawn because it's looking for if it's drawn. It's not looking for like drawn off of the ability. It's just looking for if that die is drawn, and it will draw you an extra die. So these 2 interactions can work together. These 2 keywords can kind of come together to make something kind of crazy. It does obviously involve you investing a lot into these characters, but the cool thing about this ability is that you just don't need it to sit in the field like you do for Swarm. You can just draw these, you can use them, you could fight with them, they can get KO'd or put into the use pile, and you're good to go. So in summary, we have all of these rush characters. Once you draw one of these rush characters, it's going to look for character dice that meet its requirement. Like, for example, looking for bolts, looking for shields, looking for bolts, looking for bolts, looking for non-Star-Lord Guardian characters. If it sees one of those things, it will rush you a new die. If multiple rush effects go off, then you'll draw multiple dice. If you draw another version of a rush character that's already begun the process of rushing, it doesn't start a new rush and look for other things. It just contributes to the total for others rushing. So for example, this Groot saw that get drawn, so then you're going to draw an extra die for that. If for some reason you have an ability that put a die into your prep area, again, kind of like the Pepper Potts Virginia thing, and you draw something like this, all of a sudden this Groot sees the previously drawn Bolt character, this Drax sees the previously drawn Bolt character, you will draw off of that. Okay, so I hope that helps make sense of this brand new keyword. It's super cool. I'm super excited to try it out. Let me know if I missed something or if you have more specific rules interactions in a comment below, and I'll see if I can figure them out and take care of those for you. If you enjoyed this video, let me know with a like and a subscribe. We're climbing the subscription thing higher and higher, and if you are one of my patrons, you are the best of us, and if you'd like to be one of my patrons, head on down to the description. There's a link in the description. Hop on for $1. And we're going to probably do a subscription or a Patreon-based drawing for you guys coming up pretty soon. As always, everybody, thanks for watching.